What it do, guys? It's your boy, the Juice, and we all know my name is Troy Bradshaw. If you don't know, now you know, but I go by the Juice. Um, Look, I wanted to open up the phone lines tonight. I wanted to see what everybody thinks. I really want to kind of pick everybody's brain tonight, kind of how we did the other night. What's your story? Tell me what your theory is. What do you think happened to Nancy? Where is Nancy Guthrie? Who do you think it is? From, well, do you think it's Tommaso and Annie? Do you think it's Luke? Do you think it's even Colella? Do you think it was Carlos? Or do you think it was someone else? And we haven't came across this person yet. Tell me your story. I want to know everyone's story. I want to get as much callers in as we can to see what everyone thinks. Maybe getting the information that we get may even support your theory. It may help you bring more thoughts to your theory to support your theory. So let's do that. Before we get started, though, I wanted to play that video that I was trying to show you guys earlier out at Nancy's. I was playing a video with Brian Intent. There's a couple statements that were made in regards to Sheriff Nano, so I wanted to share that with you guys. I know a lot of you guys have probably heard the video, but let's listen in. I'm going to pull up my chat just real quick because I can't see anything at all. And I haven't got to pull much of anything up. Don't really have a whole lot of videos to show y'all tonight. Don't really have a whole lot of stuff we can watch. But hey, you want to share something with me, you have something in mind that you want to show me, feel free to email me. And as we talk about it, we'll show it here on stream. I know a lot of people have been reaching out with the emails, telling me little things that they think, in regards to the perp or whatever little information that they have. They've been reaching out. So thanks for all the emails. Thanks to those who took the time to reach out. Shouts to everybody for the love and support. I know it's a lot better here because, we can hear me and it's just not a whole lot of commotion going on with cars passing by and a lot of distractions. So it's easier, a little bit easier to focus at home. I think I had one more video that I wanted to show you guys as well. I think it was, I can't recall what else it was that I was going to show you guys tonight that I had in mind. But mainly it's the Brian Intent post that he had put out today. Oh, that's right. Not a video, but I wanted you guys to hear this caller by the name of Jennifer who reached out earlier. I thought it was a very interesting call. And it helped my thoughts a lot based on what I think, happened to Nancy or whoever took Nancy. It really helped open up my eyes a lot. And for those of you guys that maybe think the same thing, it might even help you guys a lot as well. And if you were here during the time that the caller called, then you didn't miss anything. But I gotta share this amongst the folks here because I think it was a really good call. I think this is going to be a really, really exciting weekend, guys, because we got a lot of the YouTubers coming back that were here initially when this all took place. I'm looking online right now and I noticed Mark the Shark is coming back. We got JLR coming back out here. I think these guys will all be here either tomorrow or Sunday at the latest. I think JLR should be out here tomorrow. I'm not sure if Dad's Gone Live is coming. We had Sleuth Intuition out there today at Nancy's along with Criminal Network, so it was good to see those guys out there. Shout out to all the YouTubers that have been supporting this case and been involved. Doesn't matter if they're still involved now or simply just before, but shouts to those guys. I mean, without you guys, without us, I mean, there wouldn't probably be as much as awareness to the case leading up to now. So I think due to you guys' help, it's helped us a lot with keeping that awareness out there, not letting this case just simply fade away. Can't say it enough because it means a lot. And this is the reason why we're out here doing what we're doing as well, is we get, people like this, with callers like this who have information. And even though we know that information isn't always factual, some of the things that are brought to our attentions just simply make sense, and they have you thinking. And it'll probably, it could also open up other doors. But I think not only that, but maybe, you just never know. We might be out at Nancy's and someone may just, decide, what, I'm going to come forward today and I'm going to say something. They can't hold on to it no more, and it's just eating away. And that's what's going on with whoever this is who did this to Nancy. They're sitting there every single day, and day by day, it's just eating away at them, eating away, eating away, eating away. But anyways, big welcomes those of y'all tuning in. Good to see some of you guys here in the chat. Much love. Thanks you guys stopping by and tuning in. Mary, big welcomes. Rebecca, big welcomes. Lisa, welcome back, guys. Carol, welcome. I got off to a little bit of a late start. Made the dark, good to see you. I don't know if I saw you earlier. Shout out all the members plugging in here as well. Good to see y'all. Good evening. I know it's Friday. It's a nice day out. 71 degrees out here in Tucson. I don't know what the weather is for you guys. I think Made in the Dark is in Australia. Not sure what the weather is there. Hopefully you guys got some good weather. It is currently 12:38 in the morning, folks. But it's Friday. It's Friday. We can stay up as long as we want. We don't got work tomorrow. You might have work, but I don't. So I can stay up as long as I want tonight. I want to quickly play this video real quick. We won't play the whole thing with Brian Intent. And then I want to share this phone call with you guys because it's a really good phone call. I almost wanted to post it. It was such a good phone call. Maybe I should because it was great. But I'm going to play this clip, or not even a clip. It's actually the video. We'll play some of it. I'll share this phone call with you guys, and then I'll post the phone number right here so we could take a few calls. Tell me your story. I want to know. I want to hear everyone's story tonight, or those who feel like telling me their story. What you think? What you think happened here? What is your theory? But let's run this video real quick. I want to hear this.
All right, hey guys, so I want to go through some of these new things that Sheriff Nanos said. He was speaking to People Magazine. I actually know the reporter. I met her when I was out there. She was also out there for a couple weeks right after Nancy went missing. And some of this stuff is interesting. I mean, there's some new developments here. And that's the thing about Sheriff Nanos that I've found is, when you can talk to him, if he'll answer his phone or whatever, sometimes he'll just start talking and he'll start saying things and you're like, oh wow, some of this stuff is new, which seems like is kind of what happened here with this People Magazine interview. So I'm going to get to Morgan Wright, former investigator and law enforcement expert, in a minute to kind of go over what some of this means. But let me walk you through some of this. This stood out to me the most. According to People Magazine and their discussion with the sheriff, he is no longer directly communicating with the Guthrie family and says those conversations are being handled by the FBI, which is interesting because remember initially it appeared that he was having communication with Savannah and with the Guthrie family, and he is technically in charge of the investigation still as the sheriff of Pima County. Remember, it was never handed over to the FBI. So the fact that he is acknowledging that he is no longer directly communicating with the Guthrie family and says those conversations are being handled by the FBI, there's been a lot of curiosity. Is Savannah Guthrie, are the Guthries getting frustrated with the sheriff based on all of this reporting that's been out there, that I've done, that's been out there, mistakes that have been made? Could they be frustrated or were they still talking to him and happy behind the scenes? And it sounds like they're, according to the sheriff, no longer directly communicating with the sheriff. So I found that to be very interesting, and that is something new that I didn't know. He said, quote, and this is the sheriff, "The public is frustrated, even the Guthrie family." So they're also acknowledging that the Guthrie family is frustrated, which how can you blame them? I mean, I think that even though they haven't said that outright, how could they not be frustrated? I mean, it's now been more than 3 months and they still have no resolution. They have no idea where Nancy is. And at the same time, there's sort of this controversy that continues to develop around the sheriff throughout this whole thing. So there he's acknowledging the public is frustrated, even the Guthrie family is frustrated. Every passing second must feel like 100 days because they don't know. What matters is moving forward carefully so we don't make any mistakes or falsely accuse somebody or make a bad arrest. Interesting you said that, because remember when I was there were 2 times where they didn't specifically falsely accuse someone, but they detained people, the time in Rio Rico and then the time close to Nancy's house. So he's saying that they don't want to make mistakes like that again, I guess. But interesting that he's saying that even the Guthrie family is frustrated. That's new. In terms of DNA, this is new. This is what he said. I know we have DNA that is unknown who the contributor or depositor is, but I think they're getting closer to finding out who that was, adding that he has confidence in our labs. So the fact that he said they are getting closer to finding out who that was, that's optimistic, that's promising. I mean, I hope that's true behind the scenes. We know that they had the hair strand, that they were looking at the rootless hair, and that they were attempting to do genetic genealogy, investigative genetic genealogy, when they look at bigger family trees and try to narrow it down. So that's promising that he said that he thinks they're getting closer to finding out who that was. He says when the labs tell us, hey, there's nothing else we can do, well, then maybe we've got a problem, we've got a cold case. But right now, the labs aren't telling us that. Interesting to hear him actually say cold case, that then he believes they'd have a cold case. Gosh, I hope it doesn't get to that point. But that just goes back to everything that I've been reporting from my sources close to the investigation, who have said that, you know, they're waiting on this DNA, but there's really not a lot that they're going on right now. They don't have a suspect. They don't have any solid leads. And he's kind of acknowledging that right now. They're waiting on the DNA. And if that doesn't work out, then maybe we've got a problem. We've got to go cold case, he said. So sort of good news in a way, that they are still waiting on the DNA, folks, and that they haven't ruled anything out and the labs aren't telling them that they've got a problem, but also kind of not the best news if you think about it from the perspective of what if they aren't able to get anything off that hair, or if they have other samples that we don't know about. Does that mean that they then have a cold case based on what the sheriff said? Digital evidence, he says this includes thousands and thousands of videos, digitally camera footage, he says, at the center of the investigation, an enormous catalog of surveillance footage from intersections, neighborhoods, businesses, home security systems. He said, this is a quote, there's thousands and thousands of video out there from intersections and ring cameras that we have to catalog. Maybe it's all the white trucks are over there, all the red sedans are over here. You've got to have it so when you do find a suspect, hey, the suspect is John Doe, we got him, now we'll go say, well, what else do we know about John Doe? So that's not entirely new. We knew that they were looking through all the traffic cameras, and apparently they're cataloging all the vehicles. So even though they don't know who the suspect is or what vehicle the suspect was driving, or suspects, it sounds like he's saying once they figure that out, hopefully when they figure that out, they'll be able to quickly go back and identify some of these cars on these traffic cams around the time that Nancy went missing. He also talked about false arrests. Nobody wants to, this is a quote, nobody wants to make a false statement. Nobody wants to falsely accuse someone. At some point in time, someday, we may have somebody in a courtroom that deserves his or her right to a fair and impartial trial. The way you get that is through a fair and impartial investigation. My team, I've said all along, they're going to solve this. I fully 100% believe that. Again, I just think back to Rio Rico and the other bust near Nancy's house when, you know, remember that federal search warrants had people in custody, and that didn't pan out. So it sounds like they don't want that to happen again. And by the way, we still have never seen that federal search warrant, which I'm still waiting to get my hands on, to figure out why they were able to do that. What sort of evidence did they have to connect Nancy Guthrie to those folks? Because apparently none of it panned out, you know? It seems like that had nothing to do with the investigation. This is interesting. He also talked about FBI tension, which has been something I've talked a lot about on my podcast and on News Nation. Remember, from the beginning, I've been reporting that there was tension between the Pima County Sheriff's Office and the FBI, and then you had Kash Patel, the FBI director, coming out and saying that they were kept out of the investigation for the first 4 days, that the sheriff wanted to send the DNA to his private lab in Florida that they use and not to Quantico, which, by the way, if you go back to my episode from yesterday, Dr. Hines, one of the county supervisors, said He wishes that they would have gone with the FBI just because of the money aspect, that he believes that the Nancy Guthrie case has already cost the county $1 million, and that if they had just let the FBI take the DNA and handle the investigation, it would have saved the county a lot of money, which is something that I hadn't heard discussed before. So he said it would have been better for the investigation because it's the FBI and they have more experience, but it also would have been better for the county because they would have saved a ton of money, $1 million, he's saying, if it had gone to the FBI. But this is what Sheriff Nano said in this new interview about FBI tension. He says he denied the claim of tension between the FBI and his agency. He says coordination between his officers and the FBI began soon after learning of Nancy's disappearance. He said Director Patel has his right to his opinions, adding that he believes some remarks were factually inaccurate. He says the FBI was with us day one. We've always had a working relationship. He also disputed claims that investigators mishandled the scene or delayed search efforts in the critical early hours of the Guthrie investigation. Again, this is according to his interview with People magazine. The plan was started immediately, he said, referring to the plane was started.
You know, it's crazy because I wouldn't even want, from the very beginning, I wouldn't even have wanted the sheriff leading the way for me, as leader of this investigation. I wouldn't even want this guy nowhere near this house. I don't even know how they dealt with this guy for this long. I really don't. But it just got off to a bad start right off the rip. Hey, good comment made in the dark, by the way.
Immediately, Nano said, referring to aerial search operations, they found blood. Search and rescue looked at the scene and realized it seemed suspicious. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. So he's saying that they did search initially with the plane and then realized that it was suspicious because they found the blood, and then moved on to, realizing that this was a criminal matter. So it's interesting that the sheriff is speaking out. Hey guys, I'm always on the go. I don't usually have much time for cooking, and that is why I absolutely love fact.
So he goes on to have an interview, I think, with somebody here on the show. Blah, 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 blah,
First of all, Sheriff Nano said that he is no longer directly communicating with the Guthrie family, and says those conversations are now being handled by the FBI. And then he said, quote, "The public is frustrated, even the Guthrie family." He's technically still in charge of the investigation. I mean, technically his office is still in charge. And what do you make of the fact that he's not communicating with the family anymore?
Yeah, until it becomes until there's a federal predicate, or a nexus, and the FBI, for example, if she was kidnapped and we knew she was taken across state lines, that makes it a federal investigation. In my experience, and Brian, this is going on over 40 years, it's unusual for the originating agency, the investigative agency.
Hey, Leah, baby, thanks for the jewel. We're about to end this video in a second.
Who has originating authority, which the sheriff does, not to be in communication with the victim's family. It would be hard to figure out, well, why, how come? The record, there's enough out there on the record, as they say, there's enough in the interviews, you can see stuff to where it's kind of like, this may be in an advanced stage, maybe there's something going on we don't know about, which clearly falls within the FBI's swim lane. This is what we do this really well. I have no idea.
Hey, Patriot Pride in the building. Big welcome, bro. Good to see you. I think the lady call that I'm about to play that called me said she reached out to you.
What it is, but let's
Patriot Pride, you can let me know when I play the call if you're still here.
Say it's an advanced hostage negotiation or an advanced negotiation. That's clearly something, but to not have any
Her name was Jennifer, by the way.
Contact is something that I think that's a question that ought to be answered. The question is, you say you don't have contact, the question is why?
Right. Yeah, I've wondered, and I obviously tried with my coverage, try to be really respectful to the family and think about what they're going through, but I have wondered sort of behind the scenes, like, with all this reporting about the sheriff and mistakes made and all the drama with him and the board of supervisors. They must know about it, and it's just sort of a distraction from, Nancy being missing.
Yeah, the cases I worked, you always wanted to make sure that you had contact with the family. When I was a detective working, I remember a homicide case. Guy was run over 8 times with his own car, drug deal gone bad. Yeah, shouldn't have been out there, but we advised him, here's what happened. We just served a search warrant. We made some arrests. You always want to be the person that breaks the news to them. You never want them finding out about it from another source. And look, reporters got to do their job. But it's like you and I've talked about, and I've told other people, look, when you don't feed the beast, and the beast is media, they will go out and find things to report on because it's a newsworthy story. So
this is very interesting news, guys. Quick question that just came to mind. I know a lot of us, not a lot of us, I guess. There's been many people though that have thought that Sheriff Nanos may be covering up for somebody, and he may somehow play a role in this investigation that's going on with the case. If that, being that this is going on, and we're pretty much aware that he is not really in contact. Well, he isn't. He's not in contact with the family anymore as of I don't know when. But would this mean that we can now count him out from being a part of this, somehow in this circle of what happened to Nancy or covering it up? I mean, that might just tell us, to me that he plays no role in this at all. He has nothing to do with it. It's really just maybe simply just his ego that really got in the way. So I don't know, or maybe they just got upset with him for whatever reason, and it didn't really have anything to do with how he has done in this investigation from day one. But I think that might just kind of say a lot about whether or not he's involved due to the fact that they're no longer in contact with him. But I could be overthinking it.
I think that's just one of the first rules of investigations and working with the family is that maintain constant contact, always keep open lines of communication, because guess what? At some point, you're going to need their help. Let's say that a case is made. You're going to need their help in.
Positor is, but I think they're getting closer to finding out who that was. I have confidence in our lab.
Hey, Joy, good to see you, by the way.
Hey, there's nothing
Thanks
else
for
we
calling
can do.
earlier,
Well,
if
then
that's
maybe
you.
We've got a problem. We've got a cold case, but right now the labs aren't telling us that. Are you confident that they're going to get somewhere with this DNA testing? What does your gut say there?
Well, there's kind of a contradiction. On the one hand, he says 100% we're going to solve this. On the other hand, says, hey, we may not get anything from the lab and it'll be a cold case. So, it's got to be one or the other.
It almost sounds like it's like a hatred toward the FBI sometimes. I don't know why. It just feels like Nanos is just trying to stir the pot just because he's mad that it's no longer in his hands anymore. But like somebody had mentioned earlier, it's like it should have been like gold to him that due to the fact that he could have just simply handed this case over to the FBI and let them deal with it. I would have personally, knowing that it was already going to be a mess in the beginning from the get-go, and I don't think he can tolerate the criticism that he's gotten from day one. I mean, he pretty much said that in the beginning, but for me personally, I think it would have been in his best interest, and I agree with someone who mentioned that. I can't remember, but they said him handing off this case would have been like gold. I mean, the fact that he even sat there and tried to deal with this and be Superman nearly got him fired. And it might just, we don't even know yet, but I mean, we're going down that road, and he may no longer even be a sheriff after this.
Here's the issue, though, Brian. It goes back to, you and I have talked about this. I've talked about it, many times. It's like it goes back to the crime scene. DNA does not come with a date and time stamp on it. You don't know when that hair was deposited or by who. We don't know by who, obviously. The fact that the crime scene was uncontrolled for a certain period of time, could that have been introduced? There's a thing, too, called Locard's evidence transfer theory, which basically says anytime you come into contact with something, you leave something and you take something. That's how touch DNA works. If you and I shook hands, I get some of your epithelial cells, skin cells. I go open a door somewhere, your DNA now is on that door, but you have to put it in context. So with this hair, when he says, hey, we're getting closer, the analysis is already done. That kind of leads to me is that they are going down the path of familial DNA or investigative genetic genealogy, that there's something being done, because that's the thing that takes time. It could be anywhere. We saw in the Kohlberger case, it took a few months. Golden State Killer case took a few months. In the case of, a lot of people don't know this case, but April Tinsley, a young girl kidnapped back in Indiana, I think it was in the late 80s, killed. The killer taunted them with message.
Guys, does anybody know, and I'm going to stop it there because, I mean, there's no need to go even deeper into this video, but does anybody know what they're testing exactly with the mixed DNA? What do we have? Have they even told us what they're testing with the mixed DNA? I don't even recall what it was that they retrieved. Was it the glove? Because I thought that the glove wasn't, it turned out to not be anything. for the most part. So what are they testing with the unmixed DNA? Maybe I just forgot. But every time we talk about the mixed DNA, they don't say what they're testing. We know specifically with the hair that they're testing the hair, but for the DNA that needs to be unmixed, what is it exactly that they're looking at? I don't know if I recall or they really even said it. And maybe they're not saying it to protect the case. I don't know. But that's the reason why I wanted to bring this caller up that I spoke to yesterday. Not yesterday. Well, it is yesterday because it's 1 a.m. now. But earlier at Nancy's, I had spoken to a caller, and she had some really good insights on what somebody who was a former detective, I believe, where he worked in homicide, which was her brother-in-law. So we got to listen to that. I think it's really going to mess with your head a bit. And probably a good way based on what you believe. Nina says, what if the DNA comes back as family? Is it relevant or not? I just don't know. At the end of the day, the DNA to me doesn't matter as much because it matters, but it doesn't, because at the end of the day, they still need more than that. I don't think the DNA is enough to lock this person up for what's been done there. And then based on what he said right now, I'm starting to believe what a lot of you guys are starting to kind of believe in the fact that Nancy, I feel like there's a chance, there's a really good chance that Nancy really actually never made it home that night. Someone said there's a chance that, I think it was in chat, somebody said that there's a chance that for whatever may have been in the bag or backpack, I don't know if it was somebody was referring to the perp wearing the bag, or, I mean, it had to be the perp or someone wearing a bag, and that bag was leaking blood, that there could have been that possibility due to the fact that she never made it home. I don't know. And it was due to the fact that it was staged, not that she never made it home. But I don't know. I'm just, it's just a thought that came to mind. But what are they testing? What are they testing? Not sure how they're testing DNA from a contaminated crime scene. I mean, we know it's contaminated, that's for sure. But, and maybe and I'm only assuming that they're not really sharing with us what they're testing, because they want to, that might be what one of the things that they need to really put the nail in the coffin on who they think it is. Jacqueline says, go to bed. You want me to go to bed, Jacqueline? It's Friday. Come on now. Hey, Michelle, good to see you. She said, if it comes back family, they have a reason to be in her home and it will be dismissed. Pima County is quick to say evidence is irrelevant. I just think it's irrelevant, but it's not. Just because, like I said, it's not enough. That's not enough. And I think that's one of the interesting things that this person that called me earlier, Jennifer, agreed with me on as well. That it just seems like they're trying to gather enough information, to make the arrest. That there's a really big possibility that they have their guy. They just need to gather enough information to put this guy behind bars. And I thought that was super interesting, and it really just made a lot of sense. It really did, because she brought up the fact that, for the 911 call, for instance, that would have been one of the reasons why we have not got that through public records, that 911 call, because that 911 call could be really telling evidence to support whatever else that they're bringing to the table that'll put the nail in the coffin and put this thing to bed. And I was like, you know what? That really makes a lot of sense. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's maybe a very good reason why they're not releasing that 911 call. Lisa says it shouldn't be taking this long. Hey, it can take a lot of time for them to figure out, to really find that last piece to the puzzle, or gather whatever amount of pieces that they need. And she brought that up too. She said the DEA is the ones that make that decision based on what they need. And they'll just keep telling you that, hey, it's not enough, still not enough. So I feel like that was really strong, and it could be a really, really good possibility that they really do have all the information that they need to really know that they know who the person is. So, I mean, I could be wrong. It was a very good phone call. It was a really good opinion based on who she spoke to, what they thought. So I don't know. I'm still kind of back and forth with certain things. I do believe that there's a possibility that this could be staged. We really don't have. It's really not a fact that, you know, not only the video, but the picture that we have of the perp, that he was there on January 11th. You know, for all we know, this could just be what they're giving us. It could be what they're telling us. They could be lying to the public just to support the case, just to keep this guy where they want him, you know, for whoever it is. You know, I think that's a really, really big possibility. Do we want a solid case? Then we need to be patient. Yeah, indeed. Indeed. Well said. Well said. And there's already a lot of things based on how this already started that they say that a defense would eat this up, you know, and that blood could be ruled out. So, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities here and a lot of question marks, though, folks. There really is. So it's really difficult. But I mean, we got to play this call real quick, because that call was a really, really good call. And like I said, it was a lot of information, and it was one of them situations where I'm like, you know what, I got to listen to this again, because it was one of those things where I was like, you know what, this is a lot to process, but it all just simply makes sense. It really does. It really does. It's insane. I believe in Nancy's family. They're just embarrassed they didn't look after her property. It's possible. Jump says if this was cold, they would give us more information. And another thing the caller brought up that was really a really good point was the fact that they haven't been actively out here much. They haven't been reaching out to the public and asking for help. They would be doing that if they didn't have anything moving forward. I don't know who it is, guys. I really don't. I really don't have a slight clue to who it is, but I'm back and forth in between Luke and Annie and Tommaso. I don't know. And then I'm also, at some point in times, I'm like, probably both, maybe both. Or is it Luke and Tommaso? Who is it? Luke, Tommaso, and Annie? You know, I don't know. Or is it all three? Talyn says, do you think fam knows what happened to Nancy? I think there's a big possibility that Savannah and I think somebody said that earlier, not right now, but I think there's a big possibility that Savannah just simply knows who, well, not simply, but she knows, she has doubts that, you know, she knows who it is. And for all we know, we don't know what interactions that Savannah and the FBI have. You know, would they even tell Savannah, I don't know. Would they tell Savannah what, what suspicions that they have to keep her mouth shut? I doubt it, because the FBI seems to be quiet, and it doesn't seem like they would talk to anybody, but who knows? I mean, Savannah has a lot of sources too, so I mean, she could probably dig deep and figure things out herself. And for all we know, she might have even hired a private investigator to dive in and dig a little bit deeper for her. Tucson is horrible with crime zombies at night. I mean, they're actually not bad here. They're actually really good. Julie, big welcomes, by the way. They're really not that bad. Annie and Tommaso didn't have to be there. They just could have hired someone and people to carry it out. Yeah, that possibility weighs on my mind as well. I mean, I don't know. I really don't. But I think that possibility has weighed on my mind a lot as well. Did they hire somebody? I think it was definitely an inside job. I'm just not certain, based on the inside job, if it was... Well, I wouldn't even call it an inside job. I'm just not sure if it was those two, or they actually, which would make it more of an inside job. They actually hired Luke to come in and do this. A lot of people have been bringing up Zach lately. I truly believe what was put out there about Zach, and what was said was that Zach was in a totally different country at the time. I just think it was something that blew up, and everyone started to think what was just thrown out there. But I don't think Zach was here, and I don't think he was a perp. But he looks just like him. Somebody sent me a picture earlier, and it was close. I'm not gonna lie, it's a very close. But I don't see that messed up lip. There's a messed up lip on the perp, so it didn't line up for me. Someone also sent me a picture with Luke as well, and that picture looked really good as well. So this is a picture of Luke and the perp, but it's just the lip. It's the lip, and I think that's what's going to help us identify the perp. But then again, that could be like a cut in the mustache, or maybe it's a fake mustache, and that was the part of the hair that fell off. Not saying as far as the DNA that they recovered that's hair, but I'm saying that there's a possibility. And what if it is? What if it is the DNA, the hair piece that they have? That would be great. But I think that he's got like a cleft lip, and I don't see that on Luke. But I do see something here on the top of the lip right there, which it really makes it super close when you see that. But it's just the thing for me is it's not on the same side, and they're only showing this half of both of their faces, I guess. But it doesn't appear to me that it's on the exact same. Well, maybe it is. It's just the way the picture is. But I thought Luke was super close. I think Zach was super close. I think it was somebody by the name of Daphne who posted the picture as her thumbnail, and I think someone sent me this earlier as well. And they're just really close, guys. They're super close to looking like the perp. But again, Zach wasn't here, so we can rule him out. At least I can, because his alibi checks out. Of course, there's always going to be questionable things, but I just don't think that this was our guy. But I think Luke is still in the loop. I'm not overlooking that guy at all. Was that you that sent me that? Made in the Dark says that was me, Juice. I sent you the pics. LOL, hair lip. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think you sent me the other one, right? I think you sent me the other one, not this one though. I think that was Ellen who had sent me that one, but Luke is close. So is Zach. I think Luke is the closest to possibly being the perp. I just don't think it's him. But then I do. I mean, I'm back and forth with that. Identifying the perp has been tough. It's really been tough. But I want to play this video real quick, or this call with the lady that I spoke to earlier. I think it's going to take you guys on a little spin. Let's dive in and just listen to this real quick. Check out chat real quick, though. There was a thief seen at another home camera nearby that shown a guy trying to break in, but he turned around and walked away from the home in the video in that Tucson, Arizona neighborhood. I remember that, and that guy looked very similar to the perp. He really did. Although I'm not going to lie, I didn't think it was the same guy. But it was interesting because he had 2 backpacks, and I think that's who you're talking about, right? The guy that was carrying 2 backpacks, he kind of threw one over the gate. He was going to go into like their side gate, but then he turned around and he left after that. I think that's who you're talking about. Sandy, good comment. She says, I think they'll find out some info at Derek Colella's trial in June. He sent that note as a favor for the perp who was hired. It's a possibility. It is a big possibility. I don't know, though, because Colella might not have any information because he might not have anything to do with it. The first 2 pics don't even look like the same guy. Eyes and nose are different. I'll pull it back up real quick before we play this video. We can pull it back up. We got time. We got nothing but time. Also, somebody sent me a picture of a really odd truck, and I think it was seen on Dad's Gone Live's channel. I couldn't find it. I looked for it. If you could send me the timestamp on it, I'd be more than happy to go check it out to see what he saw that night. I might have been tuned in this night, and I just don't remember. But I don't know. But if you can and you're tuned in right now, just send me the timestamp, and I'll go check it out. I've been trying to look at everyone's emails based on what they've sent me. I'm trying to pull this photo back up of Luke here. Hey, shout out to whoever did this, by the way. I thought this was pretty cool. Much love to whoever made this. I don't know who did this, but it would be nice to know so I can reach out and tell them thank you. That was pretty cool, guys. I like that. And thanks for whoever shared that with me, too, because we were talking about it yesterday. And I guess I can't find the picture. I just had the picture up, and I don't see it. Oh, there it is. There it is. Yeah, you're right. The noses do look different. But I mean, that's supposedly an older picture of Luke, I believe. I mean, it looks like Luke's been through a lot, though. Maybe that's not Luke and that's his brother. Is that Luke or his brother? I have no idea. When these pictures dropped, I was super confused because they were talking about, I think his name is Matt. I have no idea, but I think these are two. I think it might be 2 different. Isn't that 2 different guys? I don't know, but Zach looks the closest to me. I'm not gonna lie. Zach is like really close looking to the perp, I think. Just because of the eyes, and then the eyebrows are like pretty, like, you know. It's like, it looks like Zach does his eyebrows. To me, that's what it looks like. And then the eyes kind of do it for me. But either way, guys, I don't think Zach is involved. He's not the guy. Thanks for sharing that with me. I still don't think it's Zach, though. Hey, Shannon, good to see you in the chat. But anyway, let's check this call out. I want to listen to this call, then I want to take some calls. I know we're not going to have a whole lot of time because people are probably going to get tired. But I want to take some calls. I want to listen to this call first because it's a really good call. I was out at Nancy's and we had a good caller. So let's listen to this real quick. And like I said, Patriot Pride, I think she spoke to you. She mentioned that she spoke to you. So maybe she got to share this information with you before she shared it with me. Hey, how you doing?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. So I was trying to reach any of you. I feel like it's interesting information. My brother-in-law worked for the Kansas City Police Department as a homicide detective for many years, and he's just recently retired. So I kind of, I completely bombarded him at his daughter's graduation. And he said, I know, I'm so sorry, I haven't called you back, so tell me what's going on. And I said, well, he's so busy all the time doing all sorts of other stuff. But I said, did you hear about the Nancy Guthrie case? And he goes, well, I know that Savannah Guthrie's missing. Tell me what's the deal. So he talked to me for almost 2 hours, and I showed him photos. I literally broke it down from the beginning to end. He was asking me some questions in between. I was looking up articles to show him direct quotes from the sheriff, direct quotes from everybody else. And he's kind of a stoic guy, so, and he's not real animated. He's just pretty matter of fact, which I guess you would expect from a homicide detective.
Yeah.
But he goes, so what are you trying to figure out? And I said, what do you mean what am I trying to figure out? I'm like, they're telling us that there's zero information. They're telling us that they have, a rootless hair and possibly some mixed DNA. They confiscated. I was kind of going over the big, points about. He said, "Now wait a minute. Whose car was detained for almost 40 days?" I said, "That was Savannah's sister and brother." And he goes, "And that's the last one to see her alive, correct?" And I said, "That's correct." So I was going through all the information, and he goes, "Well, this is easy." He goes, "I've worked a lot of these. It's an inside job." I go, "So my husband was sitting right there, and he goes,
Wow.
What does that mean?" And he goes, "Exactly what I just said. It's an inside job." He said, if I had to guess, and he goes, with the information that you've given me, the fact that they've gone radio silent, they're no longer doing press conferences. They wouldn't do that if it was a cold case. They wouldn't do that if they were at a standstill. He said, we used to do this all the time. He said, we would release more information to the public because we need their help. He goes, the fact that they're not doing that means they already know who it is. They've got him in the scope, and they're waiting. And his wife, who's my husband's sister, chimed in, and she goes, "Oh my God, can I just tell you how many nights that I had him come home, and he'd be so frustrated that he had this beautiful, presentation to the DA of here's the photos, here's the blood evidence, and the DA would go, not enough, I'm going to need more." And I said, "Really?" And he goes, "Absolutely."
Wow.
He said the DAs make the decision on their own. It has nothing to do with FBI says it's enough or Pima County Sheriff says it's enough. It's the DA. So he said, so what's happening here is because it's a high-profile case, they're waiting to have the proverbial smoking gun / nail in the coffin.
Right.
They want this clean, and he said so. Yeah, he said that my husband's chiming in. He said that the DA does not want a loss on his record, so his or her record. So he said it's an inside job. It's very clear, very clean. He goes, first of all, I don't know if you've talked to anybody else. He goes, but the fact that she's 84 years old, can I just tell you how extremely rare that is? He goes, there's nothing random about this. And I said, well, people are saying it's a robbery gone wrong. He goes, absolutely not. He goes, I can tell you how many of those I've worked, and they leave the body. There's no such thing as taking somebody like that. Kidnap for ransom, he even said. He said, modern times, you get money very easily without having to go through the risk of any of that. And I said, so what do you think this is? And he goes, well, I mean, it's pretty obvious. This is a kidnapped cover-up for what actually happened, which is that it was a hit. It was an inside job. And he said, that's my opinion. So I thought that was very interesting. He said, and he commended me. He said, because I told him, he goes, well, tell me what you got. And I said, well, I've got it recorded, so I'm not copying you. I promise. I said, this is what I thought from the beginning. I think it's a fake video. I think that this guy is some sort of screen, for what actually happened. It's a cover-up. And he said, that's exactly what it is. He said that when I explained all the characters involved, he said the fact that even the public is threading everybody together, like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon is what I call it. He said there usually are no such thing as coincidences. And he goes, so the question is, what do they have to gain? And he said, so if the person you think is who I think it is, and he confirmed who I thought it was, and he said the exact same person. And he said then that person either needed to get rid of her or there was some sort of financial gain.
Wow.
And he said that this had nothing to do with, and I said, well, what about a no-body homicide? And he goes, none of that matters. And I said, and he goes, that kind of stuff right now, they're laying low, they've gone quiet, there's zero activity. And I said, but they're putting it out to the public that they have nothing. He goes, of course they are. And I said, what does that mean? He goes, like, we used to do. He said, it's not illegal to put out a false news report.
Yeah, and I've heard people say that.
We used to do that all the time.
That's
well,
crazy.
I heard people say it, but I never heard a homicide detective confirm it. And I feel like a few people have said, well, that could be possible. And he said, no, we flat out have done it. We've said that we have nothing. When we have everything, we're just waiting for the final piece. Wow. And he said, and it's all, we are trying to get them to crawl out from under the woodwork so that we can get the final piece of information that we need to positively convict somebody.
What do y'all think about that? I mean, that really hit different when I heard that. I mean, what do y'all think? You think that they are just kind of lying to the public just so they could, protect the case, so to speak, so they can just hit when they're ready to, well, when they gather enough information, I thought that was a really, really interesting point in the conversation, or really just listening to the phone call. That was crazy to me. That was just crazy. Let's run that back.
Information to get them to crawl no peace.
Wow.
And he said, and it's all we have. And I feel like a few people have said, well, that could be possible. And he said, no, we flat out have done it. We've said that we have nothing. When we have everything, we're just waiting for the final piece. Wow. And he said, and it's all, we are trying to get them to crawl out from under the woodwork so that we can get the final piece of information that we need to positively convict somebody.
Somebody said that the other day too. Well, they said that they, they didn't want me to say this, but from what I heard, somebody said that they spoke. Hi, thanks for the sub, by the way. He said that that it's the family, like he knew for sure, and they're just pretty much waiting for them to come forward. But
that's what he said. He said, in my opinion, with the limited information that I have, he goes, there's certain cues in law enforcement that all of us pick up on. He goes, I find it interesting that you're confused by this. And I go, I'm not confused. I want confirmation. I said, I was pretty confident last night when I talked to Patriot Pride. And he goes, so you think that they know who it is? And I go, oh, I think they absolutely know who it is. And I said, I would put money on a table in Vegas that they know who it is, and that they're waiting for the final information to be able to move forward. I said, I did ask my brother-in-law about the 911 call, and he said that that's not normal. However, they do withhold it, and they do seal it when it is in relation for prosecution. Wow. And then he also said that the holding of a vehicle for 34 days, 35 days, whatever it was, he said, that's not normal. He goes, that means that the car had evidence of something. And because I mentioned that the other, SWAT other vehicles that have been taken in or returned within a matter of days versus a month plus. And he said, yeah, that's not normal. He goes, so I think it's pretty clear what's going on here. And he said, now the question is, who is in charge? Who hired this person? And getting the rest of the information. Do you remember, Glenn, anything else he said that stuck out? I'm asking my husband if you remember.
No, you're good. You're good.
Kidnapping for ransom, that just doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, he kept reiterating that kidnapping for ransom doesn't happen anymore. And I said, but the way the FBI was reacting, it sounds like they put some clout into it because, and then I was telling him about Savannah's, Instagram messages and kind of showed him some stuff. And he goes, well, they obviously saw something in those letters. But what I'm trying to tell you is the letters may have been real and really from the people that took Nancy, but it had nothing to do with the reality of what the situation was. It's all part of a cover-up. And I said, he goes, we just get certain cues. You've been doing this long enough. All of us see a pattern. And he said, I'm pretty confident with just the information you've given me that I'm right, that they're lying in wait.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, they know who it is, and they're waiting on the DA to go, we've got enough, let's move forward. And honestly, after hearing what Brian Enton just released that you just played, that kind of echoes what he just said.
It really does,
It's
because they said that they were upset. I mean, that really does. I mean, that that's hand in hand for sure. I mean, why would they be upset?
I mean, well, I don't even think... I don't think that the family's upset because they think that they're being implicated. I think they're upset because they feel like it's not moving forward. However, what Nano said about we need a fair trial, they need to be able to, that to me speaks volumes. It's like read between the lines. Whoever this person is, that they have got on their radar, that they have put a star next to as this is the guy, or these are the people, that they're like, we have got to have this so solid that there is zero question about this person being falsely accused or falsely arrested, period. So to me, that echoed exactly what my brother-in-law said.
That makes sense.
So
that makes sense. Wow.
I just thought that was interesting, and you should share it with Sleuth. And because I said, what about all this, won't release this, and this guy's warrant is sealed, and that warrant is sealed. He goes, well, I don't understand what you're confused about. He goes, it's sealed because it's part of the case, period.
Wow.
And I know a lot of people were like, oh, they didn't release the 911 call in the Idaho 4. I believe that's because she was a witness to the murder. That's a little bit different than saying, I can't find my mom. That's a little bit different. She was in the house with her roommate's dead and made a call. And I think it put her life in jeopardy until they had somebody in custody. And so because she was a witness, I think it's a totally different situation than this 911 call saying, we can't find my mom. And that's what I asked him. I go, is that typical? And he goes, okay, there's two ways to answer this. No, it's not typical. And yes, it's typical. The reason it's typical is if it has to do with the case, period. So it doesn't sound good. And I was really kind of sad when I heard that because...
Hey, Sue, good to see you.
Again, all of this is opinion. This is not accusing anybody. It's opinion with what facts that we've been presented, and it's conjecture.
Right.
But
hey, Ted, good to see you. Thanks for the $10 super chat, by the way.
Together.
Much love. Shout out, Ted. Hey, if you guys haven't checked out Ted as well as Patriot Pride, make sure you guys go check those guys out. They've been also awesome supporting the Nancy Guthrie case. So make sure y'all go check those guys out and subscribe. Much love, Ted.
And it's not sounding good for the potential of who might be involved.
Not at all.
So
yeah, that's.
I said to you.
Go ahead.
I thought that I started questioning myself over the last week, and I was like, my gut instincts were telling me they already know who it is. He goes, you're absolutely correct. He goes, because on a case this high profile, if they had zero idea on who it was, they would be reaching out to the public with press conferences and more information.
Hey, thanks for the jewel, by the way, little Annie.
And I said, well, you know, the Circle K, you know, looking for a vehicle. I said, you know, even in Koberger's case, they were releasing a vehicle. And he goes, that's exactly right, because they didn't know who it was yet. He goes, so when you don't know who it is, you need the public's help. You're going to say, can you find this car? Can you do this? He goes, they already know a car. And I asked him about all the cameras. I go, I'm really, really perplexed here on how you have 4 exterior cameras. One that they forgot and was not smashed and removed that was on the casita facing the yard. And Sheriff Janos, I reconfirmed it because I rewatched it, said, yes, they're inside the house. And so I said, what in the world? How do you not have cameras? He goes, well, what are they saying? And I said, they were saying that they think there's jammers. And he goes, okay. And then he just sat there and looked at me like he's a professor now, like he's teaching me something. And he goes, what do you think? And I said, well, I'll tell you what I think. I think they're lying to us, and they have a lot more photos and a lot more information, because what they released to the public is, every time we asked, was, unfortunately, we have photos before the incident and after the incident, and the only photos or videos we have from the incident is what was already released by the FBI. And he looked at me and he goes, I'm pretty sure that's not accurate. He goes, so I think that...
Is it Boudica? Thanks so much for the $10 super chat. Much love. I don't know if I said that right, but for, was it, I think it said PJ? Was it PJ? I think I missed that. Much love. I appreciate the $10 super chat. Just wanted to say thank you.
Person entering the home.
Much love.
You can have a timestamp. You can even have some DNA, but the DA could come back to you and go, it's not enough.
Is it
I thought that was very interesting.
Boudica?
He said that he's had cases, and my sister-in-law confirmed that he was very frustrated in cases that they had in Kansas City where they're like, but I don't understand. I gave you 3 different, you know, proofs that this...
By the way, appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Much love for those of you guys tuning in. Big welcomes. Is it Sheena? Tammy, good to see you in the chat. Matt, welcome back. Yeah, we're up all night, guys. We're up all night. Hey, it's Friday, folks. It's Friday, so we can be up as long as we want to tonight. So good to have you guys as company. Hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. Hope we could get some of you guys on a phone call pretty soon here as well. Just thought I'd share this call with you guys. I think it's not too much longer left. I think it's about a 10-15 minute call. So it was such a good call. We got to play the whole thing.
Just the person that did it, and my sister-in-law confirmed that he was very frustrated in cases that they had in Kansas City where they're like, but I don't understand. I gave you 3 different, you know, proofs that this is the person that did it. And they said, this will be torn apart in court. I'm going to have more. So he said that the DA is the only person that can clear a person, and the DA is the only person that will say, we have enough. Move forward. He said Nanos can't clear anybody. So saying that the family is clear,
thanks for the jewel setting.
It would have to come from the DA's office. Period.
Wow, that makes sense, though. That makes sense.
It really does. It really does. And he said that they have misled the public in press conferences, news information, leaked things out to the news.
That's interesting. What a comment right there. If that turned out to be, if that's actually true, that's just crazy. Just crazy. Rachel said, the juice Nick ARP told JLR that he spoke to, I think it says Care, one of Nancy's neighbors, 2 doors down overnight. She said she didn't hear anything on that early morning. She was outside at the time. Wow. If that is the case, then that's going to believe what a lot of us are starting to kind of keep in mind. You know, I'm not saying that a lot of us believe it, but a lot of us are keeping in mind that there is a big possibility that Nancy did not make it home that night. So that's crazy. Thanks for sharing that.
They have 0 information. They're at a standstill. And he said, and it was all a lie. And he goes, and it's not illegal.
Hey, Anita, thanks for continuing to stay tuned. Thanks for continuing to stay tuned into the channel.
He said, and it's to set the trap.
Wow.
So, yep.
I appreciate that
Kinda
information.
Shout out
That
Houston.
really does help me a lot. I mean, I think we've all pretty much felt the same way, but it's all been questionable based on what's really going on. So that really
I
opens
can't
up
see
our
the
eyes a
chat.
lot.
What are people saying in the chat?
Most of the chat is agreeing with you. I haven't really seen one person that's really not agreeing.
Interesting. Well, I got on last night, Patriot Pride. It was so funny. I was on Dolly 2 nights ago, or I guess it was 3 nights ago now. And he said, Patriot Pride, Adam, he was in the chat.
Shout out Patriot
I don't know if
Pride.
you're in the chat and can see this, but if Jennifer's out there from Thornbridge, can you please call in? Which I thought was so cool. I was like, this is awesome. So he had me call in. It was right before you got on. So I was in there going, hi, dude. Well, I got on.
Really seen one person that's really not agreeing.
Interesting. Well, I got on last night, Patriot Pride. It was so funny. I was on Dolly 2 nights ago, or I guess it was 3 nights ago now. And he said, Patriot Pride, Adam, he was in the chat. He goes, I don't know if she's in the chat and can see this, but if Jennifer's out there from Thornbridge, can you please call in? Which I thought was so cool. I was like, this is awesome. So he had me call in. It was right before you got on. So I was in there going, hi, dude. It was really neat to kind of, I guess, release. It was like this validation because Dolly was the one that actually, I call it, raked me over the coals, because he literally did. He was almost yelling at me. He goes, how in the world could this be fake? How in the world could this be staged? There's no way. This is a robbery gone wrong, because this is right after the video was released.
Yeah.
And I said, look, Dolly, I have been in bed from recovering from surgery. I'm going to be in bed for the next few weeks. And I said, I'm obsessed with this, and I've been watching it over and
So just real quick, I asked Google if the DEA has the final say when it comes to clearing a person, just to see what it says. It says no. Did I put DEA? It says no, the DEA does not have final say in clearing a person suspected of a federal crime. The U.S. Department of Justice, DOJ, it says, and federal prosecutors, U.S. authorities offices hold the ultimate authority to clear a suspect, drop an investigation, or pursue charges. Not too sure what that means. The Drug Enforcement Administrator, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I don't think we need to read that, but just thought I would share that. I don't know, guys. Maybe I put that wrong. Maybe I should have just put DA instead. Maybe something else different would have came up. I have no idea. Let's continue this call, though. I'll keep gathering information here.
And every bit of this is bizarre. I said, and I'm not a detective. I'm looking at this going, none of this is making any sense. It's almost like he wants to be seen. And he's not scared. He's not looking over his shoulder every 5 seconds. Like, something's weird. Yeah. So then what's funny is I showed my brother-in-law the pictures that I had. And he goes, don't jump me. And I go, why? And he goes, that's the part that wasn't that. I go, what do you mean? He goes,
I meant to put DA, guys. My apology.
Show me pictures and be like, don't you think this is the perp? And he goes, no, I don't know. He goes, know your strengths and weaknesses. That was not my strength. And he goes, but I trust you if you think that that's the person. And then I'm showing it to my sister-in-law. She goes, oh, hell yeah, that's the person.
I meant to put DA. My apologies, guys. I put DEA. Well, it did it for me because I was fixing a couple words that I said wrong. I just wanted to post this just so everybody kind of is on board with the information given, whether or not it helps to know whether or not it's accurate or not. But it says the district attorney, which that's what DA is, has the final say in deciding whether to officially charge and prosecute someone who is a suspect. If the DA determines there is insufficient evidence to secure a conviction, they can decline to file charges, often called a DA reject, or dismiss an existing case. So I thought that was interesting, and it seems like it kind of lines up with what whoever she was speaking to, which was a brother-in-law, I think it was a former homicide detective. It kind of lines up with, based on what she's telling us, that he said to her in conversation. So I thought that was interesting. So I mean, that kind of overrules what Nanos has done. So I mean, if that is the case, and let's just say let's just say Tommaso and Annie are the suspects, well, that might just be overturned somehow, or things may change. So, and we all continue to say, look, if no one's cleared, we all continue to say this. Turns out that seems like that might just be the case. Let's continue though.
I go, what do you mean? He goes, they would show me pictures and be like, don't you think this is the perp? And he goes, no, I don't know. He goes, know your strengths and weaknesses. That was not my strength. And he goes, but I trust you if you think that that's the person. And then I'm showing it to my sister-in-law. She goes, oh, hell yeah, that's the person. And then she goes, but you know what? I don't know. So then I was showing her how different the shadowing can look with the way a black and white camera is with no lights.
Yeah.
And she was like, you would have to believe that the FBI, because my brother-in-law at this point is floating in and out of the conversation. She goes, you would have to believe that the FBI has technology where they can do the fine-tuning and see more detail than we can.
Yeah.
And he interjected and said, absolutely.
So, by the way, guys, this is a person that I spoke to earlier by the name of Jennifer. She spoke to a brother-in-law. I believe it's her sister's husband. And he's a former homicide detective. So I just wanted to share this phone call with you guys because I feel like it might help your theory based on what you think. And it's just a lot of good information that sounds pretty valid, if you would ask me, based on how detectives work or how FBI works. And to sum up some of the things he's saying, one of the things he's saying is the information that we may have may not be true. Some of it may not be, it may just be thrown out there to kind of continue to give us information. Who knows why, who knows whether or not any of this information that we're getting is true, but they could be lying to us just to set up a trap. So what it is it's really a trap, that what they have going on. Really, they have their guy. They know who they want. They just need to gather enough information to put them there, to really say that they did it. And I think this call really speaks volumes surrounding that.
He said, so they probably have not only photo proof, but everything else. So, but anyway, I'm glad you took my call, and I appreciate you calling me. And I've wanted to get it out because I've held on to it for the last 4 hours now.
We are highly thankful. I'm glad I came out here today. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to gather any of this information that you got. So I truly appreciate it. I had a quick question. Did you ask him anything about what he thinks about was done with the body?
I did. And I said, apparently in Arizona, according to several agents that have been, whether they're FBI or local police that are retired, have said that
Shannon and Sheena, thanks so much for all the jewels, man. You guys are wonderful.
No way to really dig a hole. Most of them are either found
the gold coin,
or just disposed and then scattered due to wildlife. Sorry to be so graphic.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I said, what do you think of that? And he goes, it's probably accurate. And I said, my only confusion in this is if they were trying to get, blood out of a turnip, so to speak, squeeze some money out of Savannah, why wouldn't they have just produced the body? Like, why wouldn't they have burned it and then point and said, this is where it is, send me the Bitcoin? And he goes, again, I'm really find this interesting that you're confused. And he's being facetious. He's being a jerk at this point.
Yeah.
And I said, what does that mean? And he goes, it was never about the ransom. He goes, again, I'm going to say this over and over again. Now with the digital era, nobody does this. It's so much easier to get money than the route that they took. This is a ruse. And I said, okay. He's saying that he believes that since the FBI treated it the way they did, that it probably did absolutely come from the people that took her, but he doesn't believe that was their motive, is the point.
Yeah.
That was a cover. That was a cover.
So, like, where exactly
he
he doesn't know.
Hey, good night, Patriot Pride. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight. I'll see you on maybe when you go live next, man. Much love. I appreciate you tuning in.
He probably won't ever find the body. He said, and that's happened multiple times in cases that he's had. He said it'll probably be luck for somebody that actually says, this is where she is. And he said, but that's usually pretty rare.
Wow.
So,
well,
yeah, he said, but, who knows? I guess, at this point, we're all grasping at straws. And like he, reiterated, this is the limit is the information I have. But he goes, I've worked a gazillion homicide cases. I have enough, history to see certain patterns. And you were right. I'm pretty sure they've nabbed the guy. They just need the information to take him in.
That makes so much sense. I mean, I'm so glad you called and reached out. I truly appreciate it. That makes so much sense. I mean,
someone in chat by the name of Rachel says, when you get a chance, watch JLR's last live. Nick comes on at 4:02:53 telling JLR and Kevman what he found. Interesting stuff. Man, we might have to check that out before we start taking some calls here. Blood wasn't on the porch when Perp was there. No, it was not. It was there after the fact. So, and I think that's why I truly think that Nancy was there that night somehow, some way. But then when people toss into the, when people toss in the possibility that it could have been staged and somebody put that blood there, I find that being a possibility as well, but it just looks too, I don't know how to put it in words. It just looks too real, like a person was actually there aspirating or somehow dripping blood. It just doesn't seem like that part of of what happened at Nancy's was staged. I just don't know why I still can't get past that one. And maybe somebody can say something to me that might change my mind on that one, but I truly think that at some point in time, Nancy still was at that house. But I still question whether or not she made it home at times. But I'm more on the side of thinking that Nancy did make it home that night. And whatever was planned was planned. I think it was definitely an inside job. And I think there's still that possibility that something happened at Annie and Tomaso's that night. But here's the reason why I don't think anything happened that night at Annie and Tomaso's. Only because, and I don't know the age, I would have to look it up. I don't remember, but I think the child that they have is fairly young. Not to say that people wouldn't do things in front of their children, but I think if grandma is coming over, they're going to make sure the kids are there. And that's honestly the person that grandma wants to see most. And maybe this took place while the child was asleep. I'm thinking about all of that. But I just don't think, due to the fact just alone that because the child was there, that they would do that while the child was present. But, I could be wrong, and things could have went left at Annie and Tomaso's that night. And went so far left that there was no coming back from whatever occurred that night. And they panicked. And they did whatever they did that night. If it is true that, this person was at Nancy's casing the place, which sources say it is true that person was there on January 11th, then that leads me to believe that, it was definitely a plan. It wasn't something that just went left one night. But I think that I think she did make it home that night. And I think they were able to prove that, but I don't know at what point the FBI got curious. I don't know what led them there to Annie and Tomaso's house. However, I just don't think it was that. I don't think it was anything. I don't think they were questioning anything as far as Nancy not making it home that night. Maybe initially, but I think they were able to figure that out. But I don't know, because all we know is the fact that the garage door opened and closed. And that's another question. It just, to me, it opened and closed way too quick. You know, for an old lady to get in the house and you make sure she gets in safe 2 minutes, that's a little too quick for me. Although I believe that he really did drop her off that night. And I believe they went through the garage because Nancy wouldn't have to go up any stair sets if he dropped her off in front of the home. But I think there was a reason that the doors were propped open. Although I also think there's a possibility that that was part of what was staged. So it's just really, it's still tough. It's still very tough to understand really what happened that night. Let's finish the rest of this call real quick. It's just about over.
I'm still, that is crazy.
Oh, well, thank you for being out there. I think all of us are really enjoying your temperament, your kindness, and you can tell you're a really good guy. And I think, you know, as much as I've seen people like, oh, these grifters, and I'm like, you know what? I think there's certain personalities that are like, I can't let a sleeping dog lie. And, you know, is it nice to make a little bit of cash on the side while you do this? Absolutely. But the way I look at it is entertainment us. And I hate to use the word entertainment. We want to scratch, which is that we want to find Nancy. We want to find out more information. And sometimes staring at her house is kind of like holding on to a locket or, you know, saying a little prayer. It's like you need that symbol of what you're hoping for. And her home is all we know of Nancy, you know, besides what we've seen on TV. So to me, you guys being out there and showing us her home and opening conversations, I think is really important, because I think the more that we do this, the more people that tune in, there's going to be that one person that's like, you know what, I think I need to take a chance and call in because this might be important.
Yeah.
And I think people may be afraid to talk about the things that seem insignificant, but who knows that one little information could be the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back that they need to close in.
I agree.
So,
That's what I keep saying. I keep saying it's going to take for somebody to just come forward. And I think most times that's how it happens. But
I did ask him about the ransom or the reward money. And I said, I think what's perplexing some of the law enforcement that I've seen interviewed is, why hasn't anybody come forward for $1.2 million? And he's eating his pizza and laughing while he's eating his pizza while I'm saying this. He goes, they're not going to do that. He goes, because here's the problem. How were they delivering the money? Was it Bitcoin or was it cash? I said, they said that they would do it in any denomination that they wanted, but they would do it cash and they could pick it up at the post office.
wow.
I go, how is that anonymous? How is that anonymous? and he started laughing. He goes, well, here's the other thing. No matter what it is, he goes, Bitcoin is hard to trace. But eventually somebody has to transfer it into a different account that can be expendable. And cash, you got to put it in a bank. That's ridiculous. He goes, so 1.2 million on a case where it's a close-knit group, it's not going to happen. They're going to have to close in on the person that's going to have to roll on the other person, and they're going to have to get the evidence to be able to do that. And it sounds like that's exactly what they're doing. And he goes, and I know the public thinks by watching TV that, well, they said that they could do the DNA. And I said, well, they kind of did. I mean, they basically touted that in the news, like, well, if the FBI had done it, we could have turned it around in days. He goes, that's crap. He goes, now turn it around in days means two different things. They could turn it around in days. Like, okay, we have the DNA. We know kind of who it is. But now they've got to probably go through genealogy to do the final match.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. And he goes, and that can take weeks, months, and sometimes even a year or more. And I said, yikes. And he goes, well, I'm just trying to set up realistic expectations. He said, the hardest part about horrible cases is the waiting.
Yeah.
But you have to wait to get the proper evidence that the DA says is enough.
Yeah. And
So,
I feel pretty much what you explained. I mean, I feel most of that I agree with. I truly feel like they have something and they know who it is, and they're just waiting to tie them to it for the most part. They need enough information to tie that person to. you know, to put them here.
Yeah.
Because I keep saying, even if they get the DNA, how are they going to prove that that person was here? I still think they would need more than simply just DNA.
That's what I said. Absolutely.
That's crazy.
I said the same
That's
thing.
crazy.
I said, because in my mind, I'm like, I feel like there's a lot of ways that certain things could be explained away. And he goes, that's exactly right. He goes, which is why it was frustrating when I had a profile put together. I thought it was a beautiful presentation. We've got the guy, and the DA goes, unfortunately, it's not enough. If you can get me X, Y, or Z, then we've got a deal.
Man, that just makes so perfect sense. I'm glad she called today. I mean, I feel like because they've been so quiet, there's a big possibility. We're not sure if they have the guy or not. We don't know. But I think the fact that they've been so quiet and they haven't been really eager to reach out for help, it may just tell us something, you know. It kind of is saying something, you know. And then she mentioned the fact that I just think I lost my thought. Doesn't matter. It'll come to mind. But there's just certain things that she mentioned that just really made sense, I think, you know. So, you know, I don't know, guys. I don't know. That's back doors are propped open to take her car through the kitchen from her car, but they couldn't go that way because of barking dogs. That's a possibility, but to be honest with you, after being there so many times, I don't really hear many dogs barking in that neighborhood. I don't really hear, especially with the next door neighbor, the Jim folks that we see often driving that white van. I don't really hear much dog activity in that yard. Maybe they did have their dog in the yard that night for some reason, or maybe you would have heard the dog barking from inside of the house. But I don't really hear much barking in that neighborhood with people's dogs. Hey Tristan, thanks for subscribing to the channel. I appreciate you subbing up here. Much love. But I know a lot of people keep that dog in mind because one of the neighbors had said their dog was just, you know, woke up in the middle of the night and it wasn't normal. And I'm pretty sure that dog probably heard something because we know how good dog ears are. So I don't know. Plenty of YouTubers, creators with phone lines open to take your wait, I'm so confused. Plenty of YouTube creators with phone lines open to take your choice. So confused. I don't know what I missed in the chat. Meow says, I don't think anyone will come forward unless it ends up being someone already in jail or prison who gives the info later on. Yeah, I think that's very much so how this could play out too. You know, this could take years. You know, it might not even be months. It might not be weeks. It's been months already, so this could take a really long time. 86 Criminal says law enforcement took digital evidence from the car. Interesting. I wouldn't doubt that either, because I've learned over time that they can do things like that. So that's very much so possible. I do believe that they were able to get the data from the garage because Nancy has a smart garage, and that's one of the things that's been mentioned multiple times. So I truly believe that based on that timeline, that information that they have is very much so accurate. Although, again, going back to it being a possibility that Nancy never made it home, there's a possibility that, you know, that was part of what, you know, what may have been staged. They could have just went to Nancy's, opened it, closed it, and then got out of there to make it look like, you know, it was actually staged, to make it look like that Nancy was actually home. You know, there's really no real proof that Nancy really actually made it home that night. And it's just sad, but it's the truth. There's really yet to be any proof. Somebody wanted me to play a video and said that there was some important information on JLR's stream, and they said it looks like it was at the end. I guess somebody came on and gave some information at a point in time, and they said it was at the, I'm assuming it was at the end of the video because they put 4:00 something, which is like 4 hours in. We'll play a little bit of that real quick, and I want to open up the phone line so we could take a few calls here.
to you on Sunday. I look forward to going to church with you.
Definitely. I got one thing to share with you guys real quick. So when I got off last time, I went to a job. It's crazy. I got to talking to this lady about her job. She's an in-home nurse. She does in-home caretaking for a lady that lives 4 doors down from Nancy.
Oh.
She works overnights there. Oh. So basically what she said is she was away. So the house is 4 houses down the street from Nancy, on Nancy Street to the west. And one of her coworkers, so they were all out drinking that night at a bars downtown, but she said one of her coworkers had to go back to the house between, it was like 11:30 and 4 a.m. And said she was sitting outside. Her coworker was sitting outside and never saw anything to the west of the house. This is what her coworker said. From the way she was talking to me, I believed her. I don't know why they would have any reason to lie about it, but more speculation. Who
So
knows?
you're saying somebody that's 4 doors down had a guest that was at the house on that night into the early morning.
Yeah, so that house is a house where the person that lives there has in-house home care 24/7. And all the coworkers, all the people, there was like, she said it was like 4 or 5 of the people that worked there were out drinking that night. But someone had to go back to the house and hang out with the old lady to make sure she wasn't getting out, you know what I mean? Because she has dementia, she has medical stuff going on. So she said one of her coworkers went back to the house that night and was just sitting out front to make sure the woman wasn't going to walk out. Then she'd go in and check on her. But she said she saw nothing at that time.
Like no activity up and down the street or heard anything?
No
Nothing?
cars, no nothing. Which, I mean, each house is on an acre, so 4 houses down could be...
Can you get this person on so they could share that?
So I got this lady, I got this lady's name and number. The lady I went to go do the job for told me to call her tomorrow. So that's what I'm going to do.
Why don't you do
Sounds
this,
like
Nick?
Why don't you in-person interview?
Why don't you interview her with the camera? Give her, do an exclusive interview. Share it on your channel.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It's an excellent idea. Let's find out.
Even make sure you're open to the idea that if she's not willing to go on camera.
All right, so let me just say,
definitely.
You're facing like Nancy's house here. Is it to the right or the left?
To the right.
Back to Jim house.
So it's down towards Via Entrada.
Okay, so down there and they'll see no vehicle activity.
She said her coworker that was in and out of the house all night said did not hear a car drive by, did not hear activity, nothing. I mean, it was quiet as a whistle. And I would say probably even being in a house at night up there, you could probably hear a car drive by. I mean, it's quiet and dark up there.
When a car's coming down the street, you hear it for a while coming down the street.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll see the lights way before the car ever is
you'll see
visible.
the lights way in the distance, but you'll start to hear a vehicle. Like when I was there, it's starting empty all the way up the road, going up the other way. Coming, and it takes a while to get there, but it's coming.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm gonna connect with her tomorrow and see if she wants to sit down and have a little chat. Just maybe, anything's
We're
good.
trying to get the truth and trying to find out what's happening here. It'd be really appreciated.
Absolutely, man.
All right, I look forward to seeing you.
That's crazy. And you know what's crazy? The lady on the phone call that I spoke to earlier saying that even the footage that we got, she wasn't exactly saying this, but there's a chance that even the footage that we have of the perp is staged. They went there and did all of that to make it look like there was someone there that night who took Nancy. So is it a possibility that someone was paid to go there and make it look like Nancy was taken that night out of her home, but really she was already gone. She never made it home. That's crazy. But what's odd to me is here we are also, we're 104 days in. We're going, well, today we just stepped into 105. I feel like that's a long time to wait with a case that's so, I mean, it's a national case. It's out there. I mean, so, I mean, it's, no one really hasn't not heard of this. And the reason why I'm saying it is because I'm like, why would it take for 104 days, 105 days for somebody to come out and say, you know what, I was up all that night. No one came. There was really no one that drove through this neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? So I find that really interesting. But then again, you know, there's a lot of people who hesitate to, you know, come out and speak, you know, and say something or say anything. So it's tough. It's tough. But I, you know, I'm not going to overlook it. I'm not going to overlook it at all. I'm going to post this phone number up here. Feel free to give me a call if you guys want to have a conversation. Tell me your story. Tell me what you think. What do y'all think happened? I know some of you guys, I'm kind of familiar with some of you guys' theories. But if you're up, you're awake, you know, you got the time, you got the energy, you feel like talking on the phone, hey, come share your story with me, what you think happened. What's your theory? Do you think Nancy made it home that night? Or you think she never did? And somebody's really covering this up. Julie says, I totally think they wanted it to look like a kidnapping, but then how did her blood get there? I know, and that's the tough part to really overlook.
Absolutely.
That's the really, really toughest part to really overlook. It really is. I really don't know. I really don't know. But I do know that they did a very good job. I got some security floodlights outside, guys. I'm gonna go check because if my floodlights go off, that means somebody's walking by, and it takes 2 gates to get in my yard. My house is pretty gated with a whole lot of cameras outside. I'm going to go take a quick look. They're not my cameras, so I can't see. But for some reason, and this is the thing about this case, it gets me thinking, you know, it gets me really thinking, but I'm seeing my security lights, floodlights go off. I got to go check. No, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I worry leaving Nancy's house that somebody's going to follow me home. Somebody's just going to follow me home one day. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like they're like somebody's like worried that one of us YouTubers are really going to dig in deep enough to crack this case or something like that. You know, I just overthink it sometimes. So, and I keep an eye on my window and everything. I'm a very observant person. So you probably see me literally looking all the time because I'm looking at my window, and anytime I see the light go off, I get real curious. I always go outside and check, so I had to do that real quick. We're all good. We're good. Nobody's coming. Somebody says be careful. Yeah, we're all good. We're all good. I just had to check, guys. I had to check. Let me post this number up here, guys. Like I said, feel free to call. Hopefully the number is big enough for you guys to see. Let me make it a little bit bigger because it's kind of small. But yeah, feel free to call in. Call in. Let's have a conversation. Talk about the case. Maybe we can dig up some information along the way. Maybe you know something that no one knows, that no one's shared with anybody. I'm gonna throw that number up there real quick. Hey Lisa, thanks so much for the jewels. Thank you guys all for the jewels, man. There's been a lot of jewels. Much love, folks. Insane. Appreciate all the comments tonight. Good for you. Just can't ever be too careful. Nah, never get too comfortable. Can't never get too comfortable. Why are we on this screen? Oh my God, I was listening to that. We were listening to Brian Hinton earlier, and I got this dang YouTube screen up. Don't worry, guys. I'm gonna repost the number. I had to take it down for a second. But I'm gonna put it back up there here. I just wanted to take down whatever we got up here in the background. We're not looking at that right now. I think I missed somebody's chat. Painted Desert says Savannah Guthrie has so much money and properties in different countries. Her mom is probably safe and sound sipping on pina colada. Why else wouldn't she play a $4 million ransom day one? I don't know. I think your mind is going a million miles an hour, you know, when your mother's missing. You know, you can't really say what somebody's thinking and what they're going through when you know you're worried about your mom missing. So it's I don't know. I really can't say. But I don't think that Nancy's anywhere sipping on a pina colada. I don't think Nancy's anywhere near her house either. But I mean, I could be wrong about that. But I don't think so. I don't think so. So many questions, so little answers. Speculation is all we're left to do, unfortunately. But numbers up there, guys. Call in. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about the case. Tell me your story. I want to hear what you got to say. I want to know what you guys think. Ooh, spooky crime music. I did not mean to put that on, but oh well. I don't know. Hold on. I gotta pull this up because I don't know if my phone is even gonna ring at this point. Because I don't even know if it's up there. Oh, it is. There we go. Oh, it's ringing on both phones. Nice. Let's answer. Let's see who this is. My God, we're gonna miss this call because I don't know how to answer it.
Call from Lisa.
Lisa. This Juice.
Juice.
Hey.
Lisa.
Hey, how you doing, Lisa?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm all right. Just hanging out. Figured I'd have a open discussion tonight and take some phone calls and hear everybody's story.
Well, I got a few things to say. I'm the one that sent you that picture of Zach.
Yeah.
And I have thought from the minute I heard about this, I knew it was Annie and Tommaso's brainchild. Just because of what happened in my family at the hands of my sister and my best friend. It happened to me and my parents. And I know what narcissism and psychopathy and evil is capable of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate, but people are willing to do anything for money and out of the meanness in their souls. part of life.
Yeah, it's sad that they got to do it that way, but I mean, it definitely is. It happens all the time.
And I do think they're going to get away with it.
Wow.
Yeah. But I think they hired it. I think the people on the porch are not Annie and Tommaso.
I agree.
I don't know why we aren't talking about Dominic and Walter. I don't know why that is a taboo subject.
You said you don't know why we're talking about them, or we're not talking about them?
Not.
Yeah. I think I have a picture of Dominic. He looks pretty close.
It would only, yeah, it's real close. And it would only make sense to discuss them, and I'm not understanding it at all. Like, Walter's name has never even been brought up by anyone. And that cat works for the public defender's office.
I think somebody, no, I'm not sure. I think Sleuth Intuition might have spoke to somebody by the name of Amanda. I think she brought him up on his channel. I don't know if you watch Sleuth, but I think I want to say it was Walter that she was talking about the other day. But I think from what I remember, she was saying that Walter's not that type of person. But I could be wrong.
Okay.
I'm not sure though.
Right.
I'm just guessing. I can't remember exactly what all she said, but I think she spoke about Walter. I'm not sure though. But
right.
yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I mean, it seems like it makes it hard. I think as time has gone on, we overlook a lot of the people that are brought to our attention just because everyone seems like they look like the perp. Everyone that we've came across has very close features to the perp. Even somebody did a comparison with Savannah, and there were a lot of features that lined up pretty well. But we all know it wasn't Savannah. But still, I mean, it was interesting. It was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Dominic's got a record, and it kind of surprises.
Wasn't he a part of I think he was a part of the band. Isn't he a part of the band?
Yeah, he is.
Of Tommaso's?
Yeah. He's either, I don't know if he's the front man or the drummer.
Not sure. I was trying to find a picture of Dominic. I don't think I have a picture of Dominic no more. I used to have a couple pictures of him on here.
He's adorable. He actually is rather feminine looking, I think.
Let's see if I can find a picture of him real quick. Dominic. I think I do have a picture of him, but I just don't know where it's at. Yeah, and I was stuck on him for a couple days, but then I kind of looked past it. He hasn't said anything at all either, which is kind of weird. I'm surprised he didn't come out and say anything. No one has spoken. Anybody that's even been so much as a friend to Tommaso's has not spoken. Maybe that's out of respect for Tommaso, for all I know. But everything's just questionable. Everything is questionable.
Everyone is just so quiet.
Yeah, and I don't understand that, and I wouldn't want anybody talking about me potentially being a perp involved in a case like this. I would definitely speak out, and I get it. People are going to criticize you even more, so you could be risking a lot doing that. But I mean, if you're confident that you're not a part of something, why not say something?
Well, when it happened to me, I was on my roof screaming. I was calling every lawyer, every media outlet, everyone I could possibly think of for help, and I couldn't get it.
Yeah. That's tough.
Yeah. So for them to be hiding, kiss my ass, guys.
Yeah, it's almost like it's not right at all. Cause I mean,
No.
we want we want to hear somebody say something.
Yeah, it stinks.
But what can we do?
Yeah, it's like, I feel like there he is. I feel like it's happening all over again.
Yeah. That's what it feels like. I mean, and we're starting to all kind of come back. I mean, a lot of people are starting to kind of come around. News stations are popping up. I feel like it's just sitting. Whoever did this, it's sitting inside of them for sure. And days are going by, and every day I feel like it's getting harder for them to go on. I don't know. I feel like eventually someone's going to come forward.
Unless they're as mentally sick as my sister, and they just don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that possibility too. It seems so far they have been, since they haven't said anything at all. We can just assume they are pretty sick individuals. I mean, they are regardless, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, this is bringing back nightmares, PTSD, and all that fun stuff for me. And I need for somebody to get justice.
Yeah, we all want that. I agree.
Yeah.
Bad. We want it bad. We don't just want justice. We want it bad. I mean, at this point, we are desperate for sure.
Yeah, it's not that I want Dominic to be the porch guy, but I just keep going back to him because, boy, he looks like him.
Yeah, and I think also you got to think about who's close to Tommaso. Who would help him? I don't know if him and Luke have a really good relationship, but it's also, if for those of us who think it is Tommaso, or he has something to do with it, or the fact that he probably hired somebody and it being an inside job. You kind of look at who he's surrounded by too. It doesn't seem like he has many friends, so it makes it easier to narrow it down. It's definitely a possibility that he could have hired one of his friends. I don't know if him and Luke are close or have any type of relationship, but it seems like they have encountered they've encountered each other at some point, because the lady that spoke to Sleuth Intuition, and if you get time, maybe listen to that call, but she did mention that they were caught smoking dope in one of the abandoned houses just down the street from Nancy. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that Tommaso, there's a good chance that he may have ran into Luke, and they've met and they know each other, or at least of one another. But yeah, I mean, I think that's crazy.
Well, yeah, I just hope the FBI can kick it into full gear.
I agree. I'm with you on it.
Well, thank you. I'll let you go, Juice, and take some other callers, but I just wanted to share that with you.
Well, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for calling in. Feel free to call in anytime. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Man, shout out to her for calling. That was first call of the night. I'll put that number back up, by the way. I think I took it down. My apology. I was trying to find a picture of Dominic. She thinks it's Dominic. She keeps going back to Dominic, thinking that Dominic may have something to do with it. Hey, I mean, he's a close friend of Tommaso. If Tommaso has any part in this, I mean, that would probably be one of the guys that he may reach out to at some point in time, for all we know. It's a possibility. I have moved on past Dominic, though. I'm not a. I don't think it's Dominic anymore. I just think he's a little too skinny. Although we know the perp had on a lot of layers of clothes, which made it difficult to see what his actual build was. But I've moved on past Dominic. There was just, I don't know. It just didn't really line up to me as much as my first thought in time. I guess I just assumed that it wasn't him. I mean, and then you look at the hair, the gold tee. He doesn't really have much of a gold tee. It's just not quite the same as the perps when you look at those two. So, hey, Carly Marie, big welcome. Good to see you in the chat. Says good morning, Juice. Hey, good morning. You got to be careful, guys, with some of the pictures that we see of Tommaso, though, because some of them are AI. Some of the pictures are like enhanced, and they make it look like Tommaso is like they make him look more like a killer. You know what I mean? So some of the pictures, be careful with the ones that you look at or share, because some of them are those pictures that make him look a lot more evil than he actually appears. So just wanted to say that I noticed that with some of the pictures, but that's kind of how it goes when people want to make you look like something that you may not be, but no one is off of the table for me, and no one in this case is trusted. I think if I had to trust anybody in this case, the person I would probably trust the most is probably Savannah. I don't trust any of these guys at all. Maybe Kalela text Tommaso to rat him out. I think that's what we're all hoping, right? Yeah, we're up here early tonight. I mean, not early. We're just back on stream. We were out at Nancy's earlier, so I figured I'd come out on stream tonight and take some calls, share a few videos. Just what the deputies on Nancy's house want. They stopped me on my way out from Nancy's house. Was just making sure nobody was parking there. But, upon the approach, he was saying, he's like, people still watch this? He's like, man, I can't believe people still watch this stuff. I was like, yeah, I mean, it was about 1,000 people, sometimes 2,000 people tuned in, and they want to know, they want answers. A lot of people still care. And I can't remember everything I had asked him. I had asked him a few questions. I asked him about the sign, the no parking sign. I said, well, how long do you think... I asked him about the sign, the no parking sign. I said, well, how long do you think these signs are going to be here in place? And he was like, well, they're probably going to be here until this actually all fades away. And I'm like, fades away? I'm like, you guys really want this to fade away? And he's like, well, it's just not, it's not that. It's just, the neighbors, at one point in time, you couldn't even